Hello, one. Hello, all. Welcome to another episode of PAXP. This is PAXP episode 13, recorded here on a Friday. Friday the 13th. Almost.
Friday the
Synchronicities.
13th, dude.
Friday. Dude,
What?
dude, do you know why Friday the 13th is considered unlucky?
Yeah.
Why?
So this might I don't know. Why?
Okay, then why did you say yeah? Why did you
Well, because
say
every
that you
because
don't know?
that's like those, I don't know, that's the superstition, right? Everybody's like
Well,
the Friday the 13th is the worst day of the month or something. I
so
don't know.
yeah, it's a couple of reasons. One is, um, I think it officially really started. At least it's pointed back to where you remember the Knights Templar.
Yes.
So officially, the Knights Templar were disbanded and sentenced to death on a Friday the 13th by the King of France.
Oh, what?
But it goes even further back because, on top of that, it's also linked to the Last Supper, right? Where Jesus was with his 12 disciples, 13 people, Last Supper, the 13th person being Judas, the betrayer.
Mm-hmm.
But in other
Was that on a Friday when they had that dinner?
No, but there's just 13 people, right?
Oh.
And then also Hindus believe that it is unlucky for 13 people to gather in one place.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's also weird because in most buildings, tall buildings, high rises or whatever, they omit the 13th button in the elevator.
Yeah, I think they do it in New York.
They do that here too, in
Do
Seattle.
they?
Yeah.
Do we even have buildings that big?
Yeah, dude,
I'm
13 floors
kidding,
is not
dude, I'm
that. God. Oh my
Okay.
goodness. Anyway.
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
So,
So a bit of
in-
game news. I don't know if you want to cover a bit of game news first or go right
I
into the
would
topics
love
we're
to
going to
cover
discuss.
some game news.
Yeah.
What game news did we have?
Well, so I don't want to talk about tragedy too much, but in light of the tragedy, there's always an idiot that wants to speak out about what the reasons behind a certain tragedy are. And of course, this certain Kentucky governor. I mean, there's only one, right? So I don't need to say his name, but apparently this Kentucky governor is blaming video games for, school shootings. Which there's always got to be that one person that thinks, oh, video games are what desensitize our children and cause them to be more violent, and that's always a stupid claim. And I mean, look at me. I've been playing video games since I was like 5, and I'm probably the most upstanding citizen you will ever meet.
Dude, that's crazy. So I play a lot of shooting games, right?
Yeah.
And I have thought about killing people a lot lately.
Okay, we'll edit this part out, but
Wait, that is not sensitive. Okay,
I
no,
am
moving
not.
on, sorry.
I am not a co-conspirator in any way, shape, or form for any future actions that Roman may undertake in in this endeavor.
But yeah, anyway, jokes aside, our thoughts, our prayers
Yeah.
go out to the
Absolutely.
families afflicted by this.
Absolutely. Anyway,
Yeah.
other gaming news. Something I thought was freaking super interesting is the Evil Within 2 is going to be adding a first-person mode.
That would be freaky.
and,
First
dude,
person horror games are always
Yeah,
so
I think it's
scary.
going to make the game just that much more immersive, that much more frightening, and just like I haven't even played part 2 yet because I'm just backlogged
Too
with
scared?
so many other
Oh.
games, and because I'm scared. But I wasn't going to say that as my first reason, right? But dude, I can just imagine the fright I'm going to feel. Like when I played part 1, I had to have. I'm not like a pussy ass bitch or anything, but I preferred my wife to be in the room with me. So, but anyway.
Have you played Condemned?
No, I've heard of it, but I haven't played it.
So it wasn't like I wouldn't consider it to be a very scary game, but there were moments that freaked me out, like a jump scare. Really got me. And I think it was just because that first person mode, right? Where you're like going through a hallway or something, right? And something jumps right in front of your face, but it's not in front of your character's face. It's like in your face, right? It covers with the whole TV.
Yeah. You ever remember that little short demo that they made of a
Silent
future
Hill?
Silent
Oh.
Hill that they were
Oh, yeah.
supposed to release? PT,
PT?
I think.
Yeah.
And that was, dude, that was so terrifying. Just because all the Silent Hills before were in third person, so this one was first person, very close quarters. You were in that house. I mean, you
That changed a little bit or something every time.
yeah. I mean, you were really confined to a small space, but it was just so terrifying with as little as what was actually going on in this demo. There really wasn't a whole lot. It was more just kind of a teaser, but it was just so terrifying because that depth of field, or not depth of field, but what do they call it when you can see things in the corner of your eye?
Oh my god.
It'll
What's
come
the
to me.
name?
It'll come to me. Oh, peripheral vision.
Yeah, there you
Peripheral
go.
vision. You know, it's confined when you're in first person mode, so it
The
just makes
cones
it
and
that
the
much
rods.
more. Yeah. So I think that's very cool, and I actually anticipate buying this game probably very soon. Now that it's been out for some time, now that I hear that they're gonna make this first person mode, I think it's gonna make it pretty exciting.
Speaking of scary things, how scary is it when game companies post fake reviews? Segway.
Well, and there's one more thing I wanted to cover.
Damn it. Okay, go
just
ahead.
briefly. Was there's this article and how it claimed that Ubisoft is obsessed with their idea of games as a service, and they actually came out with this graph, which makes a lot of sense. And we probably have covered this more, but more in like dollars amounts, right? And it's and the reason Ubisoft is so hooked on games as a service is because year one of a game's release, you have kind of that hype. Everybody's playing it, right?
Yep.
From the moment of release to however long. And then what they consider year two is a major drop off. I mean, you very rarely, or you'll hardly see any numbers playing games. But what they've noticed in online games or games that have a strong online presence with them is that the numbers that you'll see in year two of a game are like 2 times as much in terms of the players still playing that game. So, and these are with these games that they've developed this games as a service. So like The Division, or what's some other Ubisoft games? Rainbow Six, right?
For Honor.
For Honor. Even though For Honor had a major drop off really quick, I think for some reason that game just didn't take to the attention of a lot of people. Ghost Recon, yeah. So that's crazy, and because of this, I think, you know, we probably will see more studios providing, or publishers providing, games as a service. So
Yeah, I bet. I wouldn't be surprised. They need to make their money and they don't want to raise the price. So how else are they gonna do it?
Yeah. So any other game news before we lay into our segue?
You know, I don't think I have anything. This has been a pretty slow week as far as game news goes.
Overwatch, there was a different rendition of Overwatch, that first person kind of. I kind of can see it more like League of Legends, but obviously a different game model. Somebody did a rendition like this 2D fighting game, like Capcom, Marvel vs. Capcom, or like Mortal Kombat. They did this 2D rendition fighting game, and like everybody's freaking out about it, and they say it looks really good, and it actually does look really good, and it just kind of leaves the gates open for like a different type of game within franchises. Like, and I think we even talked about that several episodes back, of like, what kind of game would you like to see transition into a different style of game. So this is like a perfect example of just people losing their shit over something because it just looks really good as a different type of game.
Oh, you know what? Actually, one more thing I wanted to talk about too was on our Twitter. I have this thing posted from Kotaku Games, Kotaku, right? Or not? Is it Kotaku? I think it was Kotaku. And it basically shows what 3D games, like popular 3D games, would look like if they were like done in 2D as a platformer or something. And they look really good. They did the games like Batman Arkham City. They did the Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Really?
And all these games, and they have like just one little snippet of each one, and it looks so good. Like, they look very artistic and very pretty. They did Fallout 4. Like, everything looks amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, so check that out.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out for sure. That looks pretty cool. I'm really digging like all these these indie games that are trying to develop these like artsy, sometimes 2D, 2.5D games. They're really making some good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
Anyway.
So to our one of our main subjects.
Oh yeah, and we didn't even mention the subject. So the first subject, which we're going to talk about now, is Roman.
A busted episode, man.
Sorry. We don't want to lose our listeners, right?
Where's John? It's probably John's fault.
We haven't heard from him in a while.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, weren't you gonna mention the topics?
Well, no, I led it to you. I said the first topic we're going to talk about is
2 topics we got. We have one, which is Insel Games and Steam, and how reviews are being faked. And we kind of dig into that a little deeper with other games as well, where there might be some fakery going on. And beyond that, we also want to talk about the art of love in video games.
Yeah, the art of love. You know, sometimes I always sense a strong relationship with characters, not in myself, but characters within the game, like two characters or maybe even multiple characters. But, you know, all games have some kind of love relationship, whether it's love-hate or, you know, just this everlasting love, or maybe there's like betrayal in the end. But there's always this connection between characters, whether it's the protagonist and the antagonist, or the main character and the villain, or, you know, vice versa, or whatever it might be. So that's something I thought would be in honor of course, of this passing Valentine's Day, because Valentine's Day was 2 days ago.
Yep.
So, you know, just want to touch on something like that, something that we can relate to in the week.
And that's what makes a good story, I think, in anything, like any medium, right? Whether it's a book, a game, or a movie. It's not so much like it could be like this huge, you know, interstellar conflict, like in Halo, right? Where like the whole world's gonna end and everything's falling apart. But at the end of the day, it's not really what brings people in and what helps you relate to a character. It's the people, right? Maybe chipmunks or whatever happens to be the main characters of a game. But it's it's the interaction between the characters that draws you in, and that's what kind of helps sell the story. Because if you care about the characters, it doesn't matter really what the backdrop is. The game or any story will pull you in as long as you care about those people or chipmunks. Whatever, right? Whatever happens to be the characters. But anyway, before that, let's talk a little bit about cheating in games, and not cheating in the sense that, you know, there's one more piece of game news. PUBG.
Oh my God, this is a busted ass episode, like you said. No.
PUBG lost like 1 million players last week.
What? Why?
Because of cheaters.
So most likely on the PC side then.
Yeah, only on the PC side. Their numbers on consoles and Xbox are totally fine, right? It's still growing like crazy. But on the PC side has been a massive drop off because of cheating. And they've released a statement. 99% of cheaters are in China.
Really? What?
Yeah.
Why is that? They just have...
I don't know.
Chinese people can't keep up with Chinese players can't keep up with American players?
They want an advantage, dude. They want an advantage. I don't know. It's just like knockoffs or whatever, anything there, right?
Oh, my God.
The laws are lax. You know, you can pay anybody off, so here we are. Anyway, so what happened in this case was, as far as cheating and reviews go, Steam has pulled off all the games of a studio called Insel Games. Now, I think they only had 2 games, so it wasn't like a massive pull-off, and they weren't exactly super popular, but it's because they were padding their reviews. And there was this first came out, I think, on Reddit, and then it's kind of picked up and pushed around, and it's been a little bit... Steam investigated, and they pulled it off. And what happened was the CEO of Insel Games was in a indirect way threatening his employees to leave positive reviews for their games.
Really?
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds...
But I mean, were they leaving reviews under their own identity, or were they creating false identities and then leaving false reviews?
That I don't know. I don't know for sure how it went down.
Yeah.
But, and it sounds really bad on the outside, but kind of thinking about it from the perspective of, like his perspective, the perspective of the CEO, right? So this is a guy, let's say he's started a game company. He's doing everything he can to sustain it, right? He's probably given, you know, a good chunk of like several years to this thing, right? Where he's probably worked day and night trying to push this through, and he's doing everything he can to make sure they succeed. Now this is like a smaller studio, right? I would consider them indie, right? And they have to compete with the big guys. And so the only way they can really do that is by having people download their games, and no one's gonna want to download them if they don't have any reviews or if they have poor reviews. So he's been pushing for better reviews, and he's been using his people to do it. Now, is it the right way to approach it? Probably not, right? Not a strictly like moral black and white case. It's not the right way. But at the same time, I wonder if it's really that much different in the rest of the world. And why I was thinking about this was remember back when we made Cold Shaft, our video game for the iOS?
Yeah. Which was amazing anyway.
Yeah. It was
Probably
it was a fun game.
Probably the best game in that whole program that ever came out.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a fun game, but shortly after we published it, I must have been approached by 3 separate companies that were willing to give us thousands of positive reviews for like several $100.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt it. I mean, they're definitely out there. Most of those services that you described, that you just mentioned, guess where they come from?
China.
Yeah.
So, I started reading up on this a little bit. There's this guy who was interviewed, and he had a business just like this. He actually operated out of Costa Rica, and
was he Chinese?
No, he's American. He's an American dude.
God damn it!
But he was raking in like $25,000 a week running this business.
That's crazy, dude. I think multiple games, especially indie studios, or maybe small time studios. I'm sure this has been done extensively by developers or by publishers or by somebody producing a game. I have no doubt with that. And whether they did it internally, like you say, with employees, or whether they hired a third party service to do it for them, which is probably more secure, right? Because there's no like digital paper trail. So it kind of sucks that Insel got booted, but I guess you got to be smarter than that to get caught. But it is kind of messed up if the CEO was like, you guys better leave these positive reviews. That's kind of messed up on the CEO's part too as well.
Yeah. And I bet you big companies are not exempt from this.
Yeah.
Because they have even more writing, right? They have like hundreds of millions of dollars writing on this thing.
I mean, what do they do?
Everything they can.
I mean, what do they do every time they pull an ad? The best new shooter coming soon. Like that's you saying that. That's not the public. That's you stating that your shooter is going to be good. So it's like, I can't put them at fault for it.
So I ran I just picked a couple of games, and these weren't entirely random. I looked at games like that maybe didn't get the best reviews from critics to see how they stacked up on Amazon. And so here's one that I thought was pretty interesting. So Farming Simulator 2017, right? It got a review of 69%, which isn't very good. It's a
critic review? A critic review?
Yeah, a Metacritic score of 69%, which is a failing grade, right? It's below a C.
Right.
But you know what it's reviewed at on Amazon?
I bet you it's probably reviewed at like the high 80s.
On Amazon, it's reviewed 4.5 out of 5 stars.
Oh, so that's like maybe...
Yeah, it's hella freaking good, dude.
But you know what, dude? That's
90%.
That's because farming simulators or any kind of simulators are almost like a cult classic, and they have a strong following. And the people who love that game are going to leave the fantastic reviews. The people who don't like those games never play them to know what they're like, so they're not going to leave a review at all. So I bet you any review you find on a farming simulator is going to be outstanding, because only a farming simulator snob would go that far to leave a review.
Okay, so how about this then? Star Wars Battlefront 2 got 64% on Metacritic. 64%, right? Even lower than the Farming Simulator, but 4 stars on Amazon.
4 stars. So
it's like 80%.
Higher. So still
way
higher, but
way higher.
Yeah. Well, it's just higher by about 16%. So there's, I don't know.
So, how about this? Sonic Force.
Which was the a more recent one, right?
Yeah, it's a more recent one.
Yeah.
57% Metacritic.
I bet you got like a 12 user.
4 stars.
Oh, see, but the thing is with Amazon's star rating, I think it's like very padded. Like very padded. Like I think it's just I think they have an algorithm that tweaks it to be a higher rating than what you think.
So you don't think that these are reviews from that were paid for or anything? You think that they were just like
not if it's Amazon. I think their reviews are based on sales of a certain product. Maybe the reviews that are left on their website, which again most people are going to leave. I feel like you're more likely to see a good review than a bad review, because people who are going who think badly of a product aren't just going to go that far. I don't know. It's weird, but I don't think Amazon's really has a really good star rating.
So here's one thing. For Amazon, on Amazon, if you leave a review, like it's logged, right, whether it's silly or not.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to write that much. So anybody can leave a review, right? As long as you're an Amazon Prime member.
Mm-hmm.
But the last one I looked up was a game called Astro Boy. 48% on Metacritic, also 4 stars. And these aren't like none of these that I pulled had just a couple of reviews. Like they were, like for instance,
Wait,
like
what was the comparison again of the number of the review?
Oh, Astro Boy,
Uh-huh.
48% on Metacritic, so below 50, and
Yeah.
4 stars still.
Yeah, see, I can never take Amazon reviews
feel
seriously.
It's because I bet you they were padded by people that either work there at the company that makes Astro Boy or they were paid for.
Maybe.
It's my gut, right?
Yeah.
But it got me thinking even further because like as I was digging into this, I found a lot of articles about written by critics, right? Written by video game critics who were dismissive of user reviews.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd go on to say how like these people are, they're just hating the game. They're voting with their emotions rather than logic, things like that.
Yeah.
And I started thinking like, well, isn't that how games are though? Like games, they're supposed to bring out some kind of emotion. Like you don't play it to be logical. You play it because you want to have fun, which is just an emotion.
Yeah.
Right. And even like, for instance, like one thing that came up again and again was that they would say in the articles, they would say something like, well, this game just came out and the day of there's already like 30 reviews for this big game, right? And they couldn't have possibly beaten it.
Mm-hmm.
And I see their point, but at the same time, do you really have to beat a game to know if it's going to be good or not? Because like for instance, Destiny, we haven't beaten it, right? I haven't beaten it, and I already know that I don't like this game, and there's a lot of things I don't like about it.
I don't know how far into the game we are, but I can
Yeah.
tell you, like, we were maybe on maybe the 4th or 5th mission, and I just said, dude, this game sucks.
Yeah, even before that, like, the very first part I thought was really good, and after I got past that, I was like, man, this game's pretty lame.
Yeah, it's just like you described it perfectly the other day. Like, you just go and get something and come back over repeatedly.
There's no sense of progress. There's no sense of progress because everything just kind of happens.
Yeah, it's just like a go and grab and return type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what it came down to me was, as far as like listening to user reviews versus critic reviews, I went in a little further and I started looking at Metacritic, at user reviews and critic reviews to see kind of where they stack up. And in a lot of cases, I actually agreed with the user reviews more than I did the aggregate, right?
So Metacritic has like critic reviews, critic review stat, and a user review stat, right?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
And so as I looked into it, I agreed more with I'd say probably the user reviews than I did with the critic ones. And here's some examples. Remember Dragon Age 2 when I got that and how much I complained about it?
Uh-huh.
Now that game,
That's
Dragon Age
the
2,
last one, right?
Yeah, has I think it's the last one. It has a Metacritic score of 82, which is really freaking good.
Mm-hmm.
The user score, however, is 4.3.
Yeah.
Which is something that I would totally agree with that 4.3.
4.3, dude. That's crazy. That's like virtually on the other side of the scale.
Well, out of 10.
Oh, out of 10. Oh,
So the
okay.
user score is out of 10,
Okay.
and the critic score is out of 100.
Oh, okay. Well, see, you need to explain that because I was lost.
So
that's basically like a 40%
yeah,
versus an 80%?
yeah. And I'd say that 4.3 is really fair. And same thing with Grand Theft Auto 4.
Mm-hmm.
Where
a lot of players of Dragon Age 2 said it was like the worst one.
Yeah, and like Grand Theft Auto 4, it got a Metacritic critic review of 90, which is really freaking high.
Grand Theft Auto 4. Which one was that one?
Grand Theft Auto 4, the one where it was in New York or New York-ish, Liberty City, right? With Nico Bellic.
Was it just called Grand Theft Auto 4 though?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then that's probably why I don't remember. Anyway.
Yeah, but user, so critic score 90, user score 5.0, 5 out of 10.
Really? That's interesting.
Which again, like Grand Theft Auto, like I think is okay, but I don't think it's great, and I would say that uh, 5.0 is perfect. Like it's just an okay game.
Yeah.
Have you ever played Spore?
Spore, no.
So it's a PC game back in 2008. It was it was hyped like crazy. It came out after Sims by same creator, and it was supposed to be this amazing game that puts together like 4 or 5 different games together, and all these games were supposed to be really good in their own right. Anyway, it got a critic score of 84%, which if you've ever played Spore, I know you haven't, but if you ever would play it, you'd see that it does not deserve that at all. It's a really boring game. Users gave it a 4.6, which is like perfect score for it. And this goes on and on and on. Again, where you see user scores being more accurate, but it's not just users voting things down. There are many instances too where the user score was actually higher than the critic score.
Huh.
Like for instance, a good example of it was the first Witcher, where the critics, they gave it a pretty good score of 81, right? But the users gave it a 93.
Was it really that good?
It depends what you like, right? If you don't like RPGs, you probably won't like it. If you only play Call of Duty, then you're probably not gonna like The Witcher very much.
Yeah, probably give it a
but
4%.
I loved it. I thought it was really good, and this goes on and on and on again. And so I think what ends up happening is that the critics, they try to be very analytical, and they analyze the systems work, and they kind of go at it piece by piece, and they give it an aggregate score of all the pieces working together. And like, okay, this game works together in every level, so it must be good, regardless of whether it's fun or not.
It's more of like a technical review. They're reviewing the technical side of it, whereas a user reviews it on the emotional side.
Yeah, for the user, the game is the zeitgeist, right, of that gaming era, right, of whatever that system happens to be, and so when they vote for it, they tell you how good it is at that very moment as a game on an emotional level, and I think that's so much more important to where when you want to actually enjoy a game rather than just be impressed with how pretty it is or how fluid the controls feel or whatever.
Yeah, I feel like whenever I look up reviews of a game, I pay more attention to user reviews than I do any critical reviews, because I feel like critics just don't even know what they're talking about most of the time, because they're not taking into account what the game is going to offer us emotionally. We play games because we want to get some kind of emotion out of ourselves, whether we're inspired, whether we're in awe of something, whether we just love the characters that we're playing as or playing against. And I think there's a deeper sense of what you're really playing, or what you want to play, when you read a review from a user rather than a review from a critic. Like, for example, what's that one guy's name? He does YouTube videos all the time. Zero Punctuation, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, he's almost like a critic, right? He's very cynical.
He is critic.
And honestly, I can't say I take his videos very seriously, because they're more humorous, I think.
Oh, they're super funny.
But they're kind of in that realm of being overcritical of something. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you were to expect that to be a good review, it would almost pass as an actual review if it wasn't so over the top, because that's how critics are. They're just too analytical.
Yeah, and I think in some cases it works really well, right? But in others it doesn't work so well at all. Yeah. And we've seen like so many games where that's happened again and again. Like in Destiny's a really good point, like a case in point.
Yeah.
Where,
what? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
What? What the hell was that?
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, I don't know. I lost my train of thought. Anyway, let's move on to the next subject.
Love. Because
No?
what I was gonna say is, I think Valve is also trying to cut down on what they've actually come out and admitted, which is they have a fake game problem, where we have these things being these games being put on sale in the library in Valve, Steam, sorry, and they're almost like demos, or like tech demos, and they cost like $15-$20. Maybe they're as cheap as $10, but it's nothing more than just a demo of a game. And Valve has said they have this problem in their Steam library. They have too many games that are just fake games. And these games probably come with a lot of baggage, such as fake reviews. And, people buy it anticipating something because they read reviews, and then they get something else, and then it kind of diminishes the value of what Steam brings forward to, in this case, PC gamers, because they're just carrying all these bogus games or games that are padded with stellar reviews when it's really not a stellar game. And so maybe this like little story is just kind of, them making an example. Even though what's the developer's name again? Islo or what?
Oh, Insel Games.
Insel Games. I mean, I'm sure their games are real games. I looked them up. They're actual games. But maybe it's like they have to kind of hit somebody that has a little bit more notoriety with, hey, if you're going to do something, unethical and go this far as to make something look as good as it really isn't, then, we're just going to boot you from our platform.
And I wonder, God, the ethical dilemma here, it's so gray. Like for me at least, because on the one hand, like I totally get the whole like black and white side of it, where you shouldn't do something because it doesn't, it tricks the consumer into thinking something else. But at the same time, like what if, like, for instance, like Zelda, the last Zelda game, right, the Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
What if Nintendo paid a bunch of its employees or random people, let's say, paid a bunch of random people to leave positive reviews, like 5-star reviews on that game, right? Would it really still be unethical? Because that game is phenomenal, and everybody agrees that it is a 5-star game.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. I mean, they're still doing something unethical, I guess, right? But it's like that's the thing. They don't really need to do that because the game lives up to its name, so it's kind of already there.
It's a big game.
Yeah,
it's a really big game. So what I'm saying is, what if that's kind of the same case with this studio, right? These games, I mean, they look pretty good when I checked it out. The games actually look pretty fun, and I wonder, like, what if they really are good games? They just need reviews.
Yeah, I think that's the thing because it's so hard.
It's tricky.
I mean, even for us, in our case, when we put Cold Shaft out there, as good as of a game as we think it is, nobody knows that. So I think you and I and friends we knew went out of their way to leave a good review. Now we didn't leave it under some false pretense or false identity. We left it as ourselves, but we left reviews under, and we were the developers of it. So I see no problem with that, and I can't say I see a problem with them maybe buying a service, because what I even looked this back in the day when we were doing Cold Shaft, and we were seeing how do games get noticed, like on the main page, like most popular or newly uploaded, right? And it was what I discovered or what I read in an article of how iTunes or whatever the store is determines on what games go on the main page. Is it's determined by how many reviews they get within a certain amount of time, and the rating that they get, and how many downloads they get within a certain amount of time. So, I would have loved to have seen all my friends give good reviews in one day, if that's the case, because that might give us a boost in notoriety or attention. So I can't say either or if it's necessarily unethical.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Especially if it's a good game. If it's a obviously bad game or half a game or whatever, a broken game, I understand that this is you shouldn't do that, right? You shouldn't, especially if you're charging money. But man, it's a tough one.
Yeah, and I mean, in our case, our game was free, so it's not like we were like persuading people to buy a bogus product. We were just we really just wanted to get our game noticed, and that's really about it, because that's
it was free and it didn't have ads. Like we literally did nothing. All we did was lose money on it. That's it.
Yeah, it was free, no ads, had 3 very difficult levels that I think were that kind of enjoyable frustration, those games that are just so frustrating, you're like, I'm not going to stop playing this till I beat this level kind of thing. So
one of my coworkers said that he spent an entire flight trying to beat that game, and he finally beat it.
Unfortunately for any of our listeners, it was released for a limited time. It's a classic. It can never be found. If you have it downloaded on a phone or something, it might be worth millions, but it was a limited release. So sorry. Maybe it will emerge. Maybe a sequel or something.
And it went international. I saw, like, 'cause it shows you stats and where it's been downloaded. It was downloaded all over the world.
Yeah. It was good, man. It was good.
Yeah.
Cold Shad.
Man, reminiscing.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, love stories. Love stories in games.
Yeah, so in honor of just this most recent Valentine's Day, for those of you who are single but still have your loving console, PlayStation, Xbox to cuddle up to at night on that particular evening.
Don't cuddle up to the PlayStation. They'll only betray you.
But yeah, so there's always some kind of love story, and when we say love story, we don't necessarily mean in holy matrimony, hand in hand down the sunset. No, we mean like love stories between characters in game, whether, like I said earlier, you playing the main character versus the villain, or maybe it is a couple, a man and a woman, who go through a journey throughout a game or something, or if you play as somebody who was betrayed by somebody who was there for you over the years, that kind of love relationship, or love hate relationship, or we'll even mention the worst relationships in games that we have experienced ourselves throughout the years.
You know what I think my personal favorite, and I've given this a lot of thought. I think my personal favorite love story, and it's not really a love story of like two people falling in love, but it's like a father-daughter love story in The Witcher 3 with
yeah.
Geralt and what's her name?
Ciri? So I think it's
Yeah.
Ciri. Yeah, that was a good one. Like
was really
you
good.
could
She
really
cared.
tell. Yeah, you could really tell. Well, you can tell that they both cared for each other, but you
Yeah.
could really tell that Geralt cared for Ciri like deeply. Like his whole vendetta was to find her, bring her to safety, and kill whoever was chasing her, right? And of course it enveloped into this grand story that he just got he had to finish, but he essentially did it because of her, and it was like his daughter in a sense. I mean,
Yeah, it was against the backdrop of like monster hunting, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a war brewing in the background. There's like racism, right, against like elves and everything, and dwarves, like all these elements going on in the background. And through all this, the only thing he wants to do is just save his daughter.
Yeah, and exactly like you said, that was all in the background. The first and foremost thing on his mind was reconnecting with not his love, but the person that he cared most about.
Yeah. So what about you? What do you think?
Who was the one that he always had a on and off relationship with? Was it Yennefer?
Yennefer.
Like,
Yennefer.
dude, like
Well,
that's
Yennefer and Triss. There's two of them.
Triss, like I feel like Triss was the side piece and Yennefer was
Yeah.
the girl he really wanted, but
Yeah.
she always blew him off. Like she kept him in the friend zone every once in a while, but oh man. I had to say that game was like the first game that really like struck me when they had all these sex scenes and shit. Like I had never really played a game with like scenes like that. I was like, whoa. I was like a little surprised, but then once you see it like every 5 minutes, you're like, oh, that's typical Witcher stuff right there.
Yeah, so if you're a horny teenager who really wants to get some video game action, check out The Witcher.
Oh my god.
1, 2, or 3.
Oh man. Anyway,
So
what was
go
the
ahead. No, I was gonna say, what's your favorite?
Oh
love
man.
story?
So I think it's almost identical to yours, but I have two, but one of them is almost similar, and it's from The Last of Us.
Damn it! I was hoping you wouldn't say that.
It's got to be, but it's probably not the one you think of. So if you ever played, well, you
The two girls.
the
right?
two
lesbian
girls, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's one.
I
of them.
started it and I got bored really quick with them.
Really?
But yeah, I loved The Last of Us. The actual main
but I'm
story
not
between
even
Joel
talking.
and
I'm not even talking about the gameplay though. See, you're judging it by the gameplay. I'm judging it by like the underlying relationship that they kind of each wanted to have with each other, but they really didn't know about the other person. Like they thought that they were just friends to one another, but each one had like these hidden emotions that I think really didn't show until it was too late, right? And I think that was a little like that shock value to the player. Like you have this sense that these people have these strong feelings for each other, but whether they show them or come to fruition or whatever. And of course they didn't pursue it because they're depicted as young girls and they don't want to take it that far, obviously, in a video game. But it still leaves that imagination open to what if these people would have grown up in this world of post-apocalyptic zombie hood and grew to love each other, and then what kind of story would have that been? But instead, it was Ellie and man, I just spaced Joel. Yeah, Ellie and Joel, where very similar to Witcher and Geralt and Ciri. Like he took her on at first very reluctantly, but then viewed her as a daughter towards the end, where he wanted to risk his life for her and save her, and do everything he could for her, and even to the point to where he lied to her about what really happened in the end of that game. So for those of you who haven't ever played the game, you really should, just to get that relationship. I mean, there's very few games that have that deep sense of love. I think it's even deeper than the Witcher one, but you know.
I wouldn't say that. But also, if you don't have a PlayStation and you still want to experience that game, it's one of those games where I feel YouTube would be just as good. Because the gameplay in that game, I mean, the gameplay wasn't that great, right? I think
the gameplay was great. I love the gameplay.
No, it was boring. It was so dull. No. The only thing that pushed me forward was the story.
I'm sorry it wasn't a first person. I'm sorry it wasn't a first person shooter, Roman.
That's true. It wasn't a first person shooter. No, I mean, the gunplay, I don't think it worked that well. Like, it was kind of sloppy.
There was very little gunplay, and actually, I mean, there was very little gunplay. It was more hand to hand combat, close quarters, stealth, sneaking, and knife shivving. I mean, you had to fabricate these parts, and in the more difficult modes you had less parts, and then you had to use, it was like a chessboard. Each level was like a chessboard, and you had to see what pieces you had, learn the layout of where the enemy was, the zombies, in most cases, and then how you're going to use those pieces to your advantage without either being seen or killed. And in many cases, if you come across an enemy like the infected, where they were like the one hit, as soon as they come in contact with you, it's like an instant death, right? And it's just like that was the gameplay to me, not the gunplay, because there's very little gunplay. And I mean, it's just I think it was fantastic. So
see,
screw you.
Completely. Here's why I didn't like it. I did exactly what you just described, where it felt like a game where you rinse and repeat over and over again. You would get this kind of like a small open area, and you got to figure out how to get to the end without being seen, right? The problem is the stealth is very unforgiving in that game. Mm-hmm. So once you're seen by one of those monsters, the odds are it's best for you to just give up, get killed, and try a new route. And then you'd end up trying to get through this area like 10 different times, where you keep dying, get a little further, keep dying, get a little further. But you have to keep starting at the beginning, and you have to keep going through, and it was really
I think I see the problem with you and why you didn't like that game. You just suck at that game, and you kept dying. Which probably is due to lack of patience. That game there's some games that require patience, and that's one of them, I think.
Yeah, and I agree. It does require patience, because you have to sit there and kind of like figure out the path, right, of the enemy, like the patrol path, and a similar game, I think, or similar series is Splinter Cell, which I loved. But in that one, I felt like if you're spotted in Splinter Cell, you have a backup, like where you could either escape or you could fight your way through, right? Or you have an opportunity to take somebody out. In The Last of Us, I felt like the gameplay was missing that, where the gameplay really was just like a one-hit wonder, right? Where it was you either stealth or you're dead. And that's what I didn't like.
Well, and I think that's where it tries to capture the essence of post-apocalyptic. Like you're not a skilled killer like Sam Fisher. Yeah. You know, you don't have unlimited tech gadgets. You probably have barely been to the gun range a couple times throughout your life, right? So all of these things are going to be difficult, and that's what added to the element of that game of difficulty. Like you're not going to be the best shooter, so the game mechanics or the gun mechanics are going to be wonky. You know, you're not going to be the best stealth person, so you know you might not know how to pick the path, or the path might be not obvious to you at that moment. But I don't know. I love that game. I thought it was a good game.
Okay, so anyway, moving on before we digress even further. love stories that drag on too much.
Oh,
Too far.
yeah. I know one immediately. But do you
What?
have one?
What?
For me, it has to be Mario and damn Princess Toadstool. Like this love story. Not only is he in the freaking friend zone, like for sure. Like she ain't never giving it up to him. She's just using him, right, for some mushrooms or whatever.
He's regular.
Yeah,
Using him for
but
shrooms.
like it goes on and on and on. And what's funny is like, so I have Mario Odyssey right now, right? And I haven't. I'm like maybe halfway through, and but my daughter, she's further along. I think she's almost to the end, but she thought she was at the end of the game because she got to, I think, Bowser's castle or whatever. She fought him. She rescued him with her with Mario, and then that was all good and dandy. And then she told me that the game continued on, and that Princess Toadstool actually like fled on her own after the fact. But not just fled from Bowser, fled maybe from Mario himself. And it just got me thinking, like, dude, Mario just needs to go hook back up with Luigi, not in a gay sense, but just just
Bromance.
go rekindle his bromance with his brother and have some
Get a couple
Mario
of
brother,
brews.
yeah, have some Mario brother adventures. There should be a game instead of Mario Odyssey where Mario tries to go save Princess Toadstool. It should be Mario Brothers Adventure, and it should just be them two adventuring through different worlds, defeating enemies, like doing mercenary work in a sense, right? Like they go to different worlds, people hire them to fix their piping, and at the same time go kill the ghost that's down the street, or the Lukitu or whatever, So I just think that's a love story that's dragged on for far too long, and it hasn't gotten anywhere. Peach is never gonna give it up, and Mario should just realize that.
Dude, I just had an epiphany.
What?
What if Mario is psychotic? Now check this out. So, Princess Peach, like you said, never gives it to him, right? In fact, she's always being taken away from him. And she always ends up in the arms of Bowser, who's this hideous monster, right?
Yeah.
What if Mario is this crazy person? In his own mind, Bowser is transformed into this horrible monster. Really, Bowser's just a cool guy. He's just way cooler than Mario is, right? He's just a normal guy.
Yeah.
And Peach actually loves Bowser, who's this normal dude, right? And they want to be together, and that's why they always end up together. And Mario, the entire game, he spends stalking them, trying to find a way to rip them apart.
Like she's really on the boat with him, like, go faster, he's catching up. Mario's like, I'll save you, princess.
Right? What if it's really like that?
There's this funny video on YouTube where the same scenario they described. You watched Karate Kid, right?
Uh-huh.
And Daniel, the main character, they're like, what if Daniel is really a psychotic? And they gave a perfect example, because in all the scenes of the movie, Daniel instigated all the encounters, all the violent encounters between him and that blonde guy that knows all the karate moves, right? In every scene, Daniel instigated it, and in most cases, like, pursued it. So, and he was like, so what if Daniel was really the psychotic one in that whole movie, The Karate Kid? It was such a good YouTube video. You should watch it, because it's that same scenario you described, and it's totally hilarious. And it's like, after you watch it, you're like, you know what? Daniel's a fucking psycho, dude. And and he's trained by Mr. Miyagi now. Oh my god, it was hilarious, dude. Yeah, that's funny that you breathed that up.
Dude, but as far as game stories that drag on too long, love stories, I have to go with a Nintendo one as well, and it's of course Zelda. With him and the princess.
I was almost gonna say that one too.
It's kind of the same thing.
But I feel like we're more saturated with Mario than Zelda, so I chose the Mario one. But yeah, same scenario.
It's the same scenario. Yeah, where it's just
she just wants to use him as a bodyguard.
Yeah, and that's all he is to her. Like maybe they're friends or whatever, but it never goes any further.
Like she put him to sleep for over 100 years just so he would stay away. I mean, come on, man.
And I'd also say, like, as far as like the worst love stories, those two are probably the same thing, right? Like they gotta be up there with, like, why are they even in there? I mean, it's just getting fodder for no reason now.
Yeah.
Like, I think there could be some more interesting backstories to explore for both these characters, which is weird to say because it's Mario and Link, so who cares?
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're gonna put in any kind of story, you might as well just try to spice things up and make it something unique and new.
I actually gave two examples of worst love stories. One of them was The Witcher, and all his mistresses, because he has so many fucking mistresses. Yet he wants to calm down with Yennefer. It seems like. Yet he's still like a player. So it's like it's the worst love story.
He's the biggest player. He's like James Bond, right? He's like James Bond of the old days.
He's the James Bond of the Witchers. Oh, and then the other one was Dishonored 2. Have you ever played that one?
Dishonored 2. No, only for the first one.
So basically, your daughter, and I forget the names of his daughter, but you know, Corvo's daughter is now the ruler of the city or the kingdom or whatever, and they abduct her. You play as Corvo, or you have the option to where they abduct Corvo and you play as his daughter. But in the end of the game, whoever you play, right, you kill the villain, and in the beginning of the game, if you picked Corvo, then your daughter was turned into stone, which is what I did. I played as Corvo. My daughter was turned into stone. So throughout the game, you basically have to bring your daughter back from stone and kill the villain. And in the end of the game, you do that, and then you can walk up to the statue, or so you're in the throne room, and you either have the option to leave your daughter as stone and take control of the throne, or return your daughter to human form and she can continue ruling. And it's like, that's kind of stupid that through this whole game you're fighting to rescue your daughter, and then in the very end of the game you have the option to either leave her as stone and rule the throne yourself, or fulfill your mission, which was the whole premise of the game, right? The whole plot of the story or whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of silly.
So I thought that was the stupidest love story between two characters. Like, I'm gonna save you, but maybe at the end I might not.
So if you had two game characters from different games that you thought would be a good couple or a fun couple or whatever,
yeah,
who would they be?
So it would have to be Potato.
Potato.
From,
Who's Potato?
Portal 2.
Potato from Portal 2?
Yeah.
What the hell's a potato?
The character. Remember, you connect the potato together.
Is that one of the robots?
Yeah. No, it's the main guy. The guy that accompanies you through the whole game.
Maybe I never beat Portal 2. I thought I did,
yeah.
but maybe not.
Anyway, him, Potato. I think it's a guy. Maybe it's a girl. I don't know. The voice is very robotic. It very well could be a female. But anyway, Potato and Cortana, since she's all rampant now and a little freaky, like, I feel that it can cause some major destruction in some video games. Like, if they team up, man, Master Chief has got a handful.
Oh.
So I don't know.
Okay.
Like there's like a whole slew of people you can think, like, what's the main guy from Gears of War? What's his name?
Marcus,
and and then the main guy of God of War.
If they got together,
yeah,
and became lovers,
that'd be a bunch of buff love, bro.
Oh my god.
Oh, dude, just think of all the chaos they would ensue, man. Like, dude, they're like the God of War and the God of War put together.
Oh my god, that's horrible.
So what would be your two game character hookups?
Oh, okay. So, picture this. Imagine you are a guardian in the Destiny universe, right? You're walking through this whatever planet happens to be on, and you're kind of exploring, and you come to what looks like a dilapidated old lab, right? It's falling apart.
A lab, like a dog?
Yeah, like a lab. No, a lab like a building, like a laboratory.
Oh, a laboratory. Well, come on, man.
Yeah, and you walk.
Is it Dexter? Is it Dexter's laboratory?
No, I don't know who that is.
Oh my god.
So you walk up to it and you think, should I explore this? And of course, right away you assume, okay, it's probably not even worth it because the best I could get out of it is maybe like a purple gun with a +1 rating over what I normally have. But you figure, hey, the rest of the world's hella boring anyway, right? So might as well.
You almost made me choke my water out. That was a Destiny reference in case nobody got that.
And as you pause there, about to enter, of course your retard little ghost chimes in and probably says something snarky, like, "Oh, master, are you sure you want to go in here?" And you look at that robot and you want to tell him to shut the fuck up. But you can't because you're mute.
Oh my god.
Because you're mute, you can't say a damn word. So you just venture forth. You climb into this laboratory lab, right? You start exploring it. It's dark and stingy. It's kind of scary. The snarky little robot says something again. Like, are you like, oh my god, there could be monsters around the corner. And you think, yeah, there could, idiot. And next time I'm gonna shoot you. But you can't say anything because you're mute. So you keep walking forward, right? And you come to this glass wall. And behind the glass, you see a girl fighting for her life against these autonomous sensory machine guns. Mm-hmm. You try to shoot through the glass, but of course, like everything else in all the glass in Destiny, it's bulletproof for no reason. But there's a door nearby. You go up to this door, you see an X icon, you hold X, your ghost shines its little flashlight at it, the door opens. You shoot down these autonomous weapons, the girl looks right at you, and you look at her. You want to tell her to come closer, come to me, but you can't because you're mute. Because everyone, for some reason, like all the guardians are mute for no reason.
I don't know if you tongue cut out or something.
Right, like to be the guardian, like you have to give up your voice.
Yeah, I think
and
it's
not just your voice. You can't even talk.
Make, like priests or monks or something.
You can't make any noise at all. But this girl sees you. At first, she's frightened, but she sees that you destroyed the things that were barring her. Mm-hmm. She runs towards you, and you see her carrying a weapon, a big white gun in one arm. As she runs up right to you, you could see that she's so overjoyed, but she says nothing. because she is Shell from Portal 1, and she is also mute.
Oh my god.
So you think, what can I do? She obviously approves. You grab her by the hand, and you take her back to the farm, right? Because she has no home. Her home is trying to kill her. So the only place you have to go to is this stupid farm village where you live. Mm-hmm. And you guys go and make sweet love. Except the sweet love
is silent.
Sounds like this. All you hear is like two bodies rubbing against each other in pure silence. And in the background, you hear a humming, which is, of course, your ghost hovering right over you, watching every moment of your
filming the whole
sweet
thing.
lovemaking. The climax happens, and no voice comes out. It's pure quiet. She looks at you and grabs a notepad and tells you that she wants to rob some places to get some money using her portal gun. So this being kind of a realistic shooter, you go into, say, a Target. All right, you walk in, she makes one portal outside. You walk into Target, she makes one portal on the inside. You make a diversion. And all the eyes are on you while she grabs all the merchandise, slips through a portal, and heads back home. The cops arrive. There's a standoff. There's shooting back and forth. You get shot up, but you can't respawn because Target is respawn restricted.
Oh.
So you're dead. She comes back. She saves you. And as she brings you back, she hurries you into the portal. You guys both escape just barely. And in the end, she looks at you. She wants to say something so bad, but she can't because she's mute and you're mute. And eventually the relationship falls apart because of, well, lack of communication. And
oh my god.
Those are my two characters.
That's horrible. That's horrible. Right? Two guardians in love, I'm guessing?
No, a guardian and Shell from Portal 1.
Oh, yeah.
Because she was...
Oh, man. That's hilarious, dude. Isn't Shell who also is in Portal 2?
I have no idea. I don't think so.
Because it's a woman character in Portal 1, right?
Oh, yeah, it's a woman character with like these weird things in her leg.
Yeah, I don't know if she has things in her legs in Portal 2, but I think it's also a female character, so it might be the same character. But that's,
yeah, she's got some weird crap on her legs and a portal gun.
Yeah, that's so funny, dude. Oh my god. Well, that was an interesting discussion.
Yep.
Of love stories in video games. Yeah,
love stories. We got cheating covered, which I don't know. Again, I'm still like totally not sold on that because who knows? Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad.
Yeah.
Is it bad if it's done for the right reasons? That's always a challenging question, right? Anything.
Yeah.
Right. If you do something that's wrong for the right reasons, like it's like that. It's like, say, like in high school, right, where a nerd, like some nerdy kid, is being harassed by a bully, and some badass kid walks up and beats the bully up. I mean, he doesn't mean obviously wrong. He beat somebody up, but he did it for a good reason. So like, It's an
right?
impossible question to answer.
They're like vigilantes of the video game review squad.
Anyway, on that note, I think that's pretty much what we have, huh?
Yeah.
And look at that. We are ending 59 minutes. Perfect timing. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, SoundCloud, iPod, iTunes, whatever, right? Just follow us anywhere.
Yep.
Give us a like if you can. Shoot us any questions you have at PAXP Gamers. PAXP Gamers at Outlook.com. And pretty soon, we're going to have a really awesome website filled with all kinds of cool stuff.